What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are back on the K-Jazz, and part of the whole process is obviously getting the engine in the bay. We have to do a couple of small modifications to create room, because the K series is a little bit bigger than the old L series, which is long gone. A couple of mods that need to be done. This chassis rail needs cutting. We'll confirm the exact dimensions from the handbook there shortly. The subframe needs cutting about here. I think I have to come right up there actually, but again, confirm that from the handbook and pictures and whatnot. The ABS pump needs moving that way a smidge, or the lines anyway. Again, need to confirm with pictures. This aircon line needs, well, buggering off. And I believe this aircon line gets in the way as well. I'm sure the head sits literally like here. So obviously we're going to get on with that. I have give the engine bay a quick jet wash and get it wiped down with a rag, so it's a bit cleaner. There's little bits of surface rust here and there, and the radiator support is looking a bit scabby. There was, down in these pockets, that side not so bad, but this side, loads of crud that had all been like mulched up and composted. So if you've got a Jazz, keep an eye on that. Could rust I suppose. Also, I need to remove this clutch line. Obviously that's the Jazz clutch line, which has got the clutch damper on this line. That's all got to come out. We'll replace that with a EP3 line. And this is the throttle cable. So on the UK Jazz, you've got a throttle cable that runs to this, which has got a plug which goes into the loom to run the drive-by-wire throttle body. Yeah, I know, your guess is as good as mine. So it's all been cleaned, or as clean as I'm happy for it to be. I can't mock the engine into the bay just yet, because I'm waiting for my gearbox to come back from a good friend of mine. He's giving it a once over. But what we can do, we can remove the aircon lines. So we'll probably leave this one in until the engine's mocked up, because I'm going to try and retain aircon. I don't think it's going to work. Everyone removes it for a reason, so I'm guessing it doesn't work. I'll also remove the clutch assembly. Obviously I'll retain the master cylinder and the reservoir, but everything else can go, and we can remove the throttle cable, this boxy thing, and then yeah, we can start measuring up for cutting the bay up. Right, so this bracket holds the clutch line and the throttle cable. 2 bolts here, take that off, and another couple of bolts behind, take that off the chassis leg. That's vile. Look at that. Next up is this throttle thing, throttle cable, motor, actuatory, whatever. Which goes off there to a little half turn, like puller outy thing there. Obviously it needs disconnecting from the pedal. Under here, so you've got this panel, which is pulled off on this side, pulled off here. You've got a little half turn thing there. In theory, get to the top of the pedal there. So all you do is, there's like a little clip there, if you can see that, just flicks that, pops over, pull the cable through there, it's disconnected from the pedal. I'm going to take the pedal off, which is just 2 bolts, because I don't need it anyway, and have a look at moving that bit. Right, I don't know if you can see, try and get it focused, there we go. It just needs spinning a little bit more to align with, let me finger, that bottom gap. There's like 2 little tabs, it wants spinning clockwise from this side. Right, throttle cable is out. As usual, I got frustrated and resorted to violence. Yeah. Obviously it does leave a little bit of a hole through to the cabin there, which will need bunging up. I'll have a look see if I've got anything the right size. But one thing I will say, right, so this is the pedal I've just removed from the car. It's a standard GD pedal, bolts to the firewall, throttle cable goes there. This is the drive-by-wire throttle pedal I'll be using out of the GE Jazz, I want to say. Yeah, it's quite close. So the offset from the bulkhead, if you line them up, the pedals are the pedals aren't a million miles out, so the pedal position is going to be a very similar place, and the hole spacing, I'll show you best I can. There's the original mounting holes, there and there. Line that up, see the bottom one? It's like half a hole out. And last but not least, if you line the holes up that way, the actual offset from the holes to the pedal is about the same. So I'm thinking that we'll probably bolt straight to the firewall. I might just have to knock this insert out and elongate the hole slightly. If I use the bottom hole as a set piece and then elongate the top hole upwards to line up with that, I think that might bolt in. Obviously it'll take a little bit of cutting, you know, to the carpet and whatnot, because that base is substantially bigger than that base, but I don't think it's going to be far out. There you go, little bung. It's a 23mm. I measured that little section, the section that goes through the bulkhead, and that's 23mm. The one I've used is 22.2 or something like that, whatever I had in. So it's a little bit baggy, but it does the job for now. I'll order a 23, might order a 23.5 and see if we can get it a bit taut in there. Right, so next up I was looking at the ABS pump. What I've done, I've just took these bolts out, them two, and I've loosened that one, and if you push on it, you can get a fair bit of sideways movement there. I don't know how much clearance I need. I'm guessing it's going to be this line that's going to be the problem, based on where it's to the chassis rail. So I'm not going to do much more with that until I've got the engine in place. I'll leave it loose, so when the engine goes up it can move about a bit, but ignore this bracket. But I might be able to get away with just like slotting these holes out, moving it and bolting it back in place. If not, then obviously we can massage that one in and try and create a bit of clearance, but the ABS will be staying. It's a road car, it works, I'll remove it. Right, I've had a read and the chassis rail needs cutting there, which is 10.5 inches from this flange. I'm not sure I want to do it until I've got the engine in, or the engine here, sorry, because obviously that's based on an American Honda Fit and they've got a slightly longer front end. I believe the chassis rails are the same, but I do know they've got a slightly different core support. It comes out here, they don't need to cut as much of this up, so I don't know, let's just go for it, and then when the gearbox comes back I can pop it straight in, or to wait. What I can do in the meantime is remove this heat shield, because the shift cables want to come out with the shifter in the car, to swap for there's some shifter cables there, and that box, in that box is a Honda CRZ shifter, which with them cables should bolt straight in the car, should go straight onto the gearbox and work, I've been told. We'll see. So yeah, I'm going to pull them cables out, pull the heat shield out, and go from there. And what you've got under the car, obviously that's where the cables come through. This is your guide, it just bolts the cables up to keep them out of the way. And then you've got this rubber bung that goes through to the cab. Inside the car, once you've got the centre console off, this is your shifter. 4 bolts, 1 in each corner. We're going to unbolt it and basically just pull it and see if we can just pull that bung through. So a couple of differences as you're looking at it there. The left one's the CRZ, the right one's the Jazz. So they look pretty much identical. That's a bit bigger and bulkier, but the fitment looks the same. I'll double check it in the car. The grommet through to the car, obviously the Jazz one's a lot smaller. We can either try and swap that onto there, but it will mean cutting, or we can make the hole bigger. We'll see. The bracket's different, so that bracket bolts there, holds the cables. That one's on the wrong side, so we can unbolt that. It's just a little 10mm there. We can bolt that one there. Hopefully, I mean, looking at that, it's going to be in the wrong place, so I might have to bolt it further back, but shouldn't be a problem. Then obviously that side is engine and gearbox specific, so that's not a problem for the minute. So we'll test fit that piece in the car and go from there. Right, it bolts straight in. The rubbers, I think the angles are very slightly out, so you have to like flex the rubbers a little bit, but it bolts in, no problems at all. The only thing I'll say is obviously the shift is in a different place to the Jazz, because it's based in a CRZ, and the CRZ obviously the shift is a bit higher, so it's further back and down. So obviously the neutral place is there. I might see if I can reprofile this, bend it back into a shape I want, but we'll see. But it's not terrible. In regards to cables, obviously we'll have to see how that is when we get the engine in. And there she is, sports fans. CRZ shifter with a Jazz shift rod, bar, whatever you call it. So that's the CRZ one. As you can see, it's quite a lot further back, which is a complaint with people who do use a CRZ shifter, so I've bastardized it, hybridized it, what do you call it. I did have to modify this arm because it's a big plastic sleeve on it. Took all that plastic sleeve off, and now the feel, obviously it's not got any cables or gearbox attached, but feels really good. The dimensions of the actual shift arm are pretty much the same. This point down is the same as that one. That's the same length. So it should work. If not, I'll save this, and worst case scenario I'll have to put that one back in. But while it's out, I'll heat up these joints, maybe straighten it out a bit. We'll see. But I'll chuck that in the spares box, and worst case scenario that can go back in. Not a big job. The worst part of it was getting this little spring washer off. I had to put a little slit in it with a grinder, leave it off, working side to side, but it's back on solid now. So put that back in the car, put the shift cables back on it, and hopefully that's that done. Shift is in, cables are in, the guide is in. I put the heat shield back on so I don't lose all the bits. So we just took that away, ready for when the engine goes in. The grommet I was talking about, this thing, all I've done is put it flush against, bugger off with your garbage diesel. All I've done is put it flush against the tunnel. Obviously it's still got a gap around it, and once I know it all works and I can do it permanently, I'll either cut the tunnel, I'll swap to that one, or I might just get some decent tape and just tape around it to keep it secure. But yeah, that's one less thing to worry about, one more thing off the list. Right, so yeah, I'll pick this up next week when hopefully the gearbox will be back. So what's going to be a week for me is hopefully going to be a couple of seconds for you. And it is 3 weeks later. So my gearbox is still in with Mark. There was a couple of issues with the gearbox, mainly caused by me. So I've not got it back yet. He's had to do a couple of bits to it. That's by the by, one of the things. So while I've been waiting, I thought I'll get on with some other bits and bobs. Fortunately, Hasport haven't included the correct bolts for my engine mounts, so I had to order some bolts because I don't want to wait for them from America. So that set me back a bit more. Then I got ill, Alice got ill, Babby got ill, bit of family stuff, and then I thought, you know what, let's just get on with this engine bay, start cutting it. However, marked it up, but that's where the subframe roughly needs notching. A lot of people don't do this one, but this is where the water pulley roughly hits. So I thought if clearance it out and just push it all back a little bit. Give myself plenty of room for pulleys. But we'll see about that one, so I'll mark that ready. And then I did get on with this side. As you can see, it's notched back. Needs a little bit of clean up, but Sport recommend 10.5 inches from there to there, which puts it about there. I did a little bit spare just to allow for it. Obviously went up as high as, if they say to get a 2.5 inch hole saw, which puts it about there. That's literally at the bottom of that nut, so should be all good. Just need to do that front side, which is drying on the table there. I don't want to go too far because if I cut it all out, it's not a problem. I can drop the engine in. If I need to cut more, I can cut more. However, if I box it all in like I boxed that one in, and it turns out that I've not took enough out, then I've got to cut all that boxing out, which is a bit of a faff. So I'm in two minds as whether to carry on, but got that notch done. All I did was literally mark it out, cut it, make a paper template, which I think I got some footage of. The back piece and the top piece, then make a little piece for this, make a little piece for this, and then just buzz it all in with the welder. So next up, once I've welded this piece in, I can go with notching the subframe. But yeah, I will keep going, so when the gearbox does come back, we can bolt it all together, chuck the engine mounts on, and hopefully drop it straight in for that first test fit. Alright, so that's cut. As per what I found online, all I did was cut pretty much level across the back, just in front of these holes, without going too much into this spot weld. And this way the same, not touching this spot weld, not touching this hole, 90 degrees, and then just across the bottom. So it needs a little bit tidied up, plate making for there, plate making for there, plate making for there. That'll be done too. There you go, that's all welded in. It's just covered in weld through primer at the minute. I'll get a blast over with some black, may even take a subframe off, get it powder coated, and also take a couple of bolts. But that's that all prepped up, ready for the engine. That's that clearanced. They quote a 0.25 to 0.375 deep, which is 6 to 10 mil. That's 10 mil, so that should be plenty. That's not mentioned by Sport because I think it's something to do with left hand drive, right hand drive, but it's clearanced. The gearbox should have plenty of clearance now, no problems. So yeah, just waiting for that engine now, and we can get on with that side. So Q next week, week after, whatever it is, and we're back. It's probably 2 weeks later now. It's Easter weekend, as usual. Weather's shocking. I tell a lie, Saturday were fantastic, did a track day, beautiful, couldn't have asked for better conditions. But today's obviously about the Jazz, so we've got the gearbox back. The engine's still all in one piece, but we want to test fit it in the bay to see if we've made sure, to see if we've got enough clearance with them notches mentioned previously. So today's plan is going to be to strip the engine off of all the bits and bobs we don't need. So we don't need them all to test fit it, we can always bolt them back on after, and it makes it a bit easily manageable. Bolt the gearbox up, we don't need to put a clutch or anything on just now. Put the engine in the bay, make sure we've got clearance everywhere we need it. Then the bay will be done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to strip the engine down. You're not going to see that, that's part of another video. So we're going to do the YouTuber clicky thing, see if that works. Right. There you have it. All the big bulky stuff stripped off. Obviously we've left all the timing stuff on, left the cam cover on, leave the sump on, try and protect everything inside. We've bunged up the intake ports. I've left this coolant jackety thing on, just stops it getting in there. And I'll wang some blue roll in exhaust ports. Leave the oil filter on, make sure nothing gets in the engine that we don't want it to. So I'll bung these ports up, get this mess tidied up, get the engine crane out, and get ready to chuck it in the car, which is at the side of this door. Got the gearbox bolted on. It's not, oh, must be toolbox. It's not fully bolted on. Got main 2 bolts at top. Longest one on just support some weight, and another one there. It's on, all the bunged up. So all I'm going to do now is put the engine mounts on the engine. This mount is for the top of the box. Go on. There we go. What Hasport want you to do and supply nuts and bolts is remove these 2 studs and bolt it down flat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clearance these holes out, use the original studs. There's no reason I can't. I believe that's the bit that is the chassis. So I'm plenty away from that. And then up to wang a bolt in that one. All I need to do is open these holes up to, I think it's 14mm. So I've got my hole saw ready. Wang that through that hole, wang it through that hole. Should be good. Then the other mount, let's go around to the other side. Bolts there. 3 bolts. It's just one of them shiny billet ones just there. Everywhere you read, it says you've got to drop the subframe to get the engine in. And I thought, nah, just need to take bits off it. Should be plenty of space. But believe it or not, everybody else was right. So the engine's got to come back out, or out of the way, so I can take the subframe off to test the engine in. Right, so I've been spannering away, just doing my own thing, music on it background. I believe the subframe's off. I just cut the steering arms, cut the drop links. I've left the struts in, disconnected the calipers, disconnected the steering rack. All simple enough, and it's now currently held up by the jack. So in theory, when I let the jack down, the subframe should come away, the steering rack should stay there, and we should be golden. After much fiddling, the engine's in. It's a pig to get up from the bottom, I'm not going to lie. You come up, got this bolt in, Hasport bolts didn't fit, not long enough, so that's gone well. The notch I did on this side, perfect, I'm in the middle, and I don't know how much of this you can see, but plenty of space here. This side, you can see there, no clearance at all. Fag paper clearance. So the plan is to chuck the water pump and everything on, see what the clearance is like here. And yeah, first mock up in, I'll chuck the subframe back up as well, just to make sure the gearbox notch is okay. But you can't see a great deal down there, so I'll do that off camera. It's just a simple matter of lifting it up, chucking bolts in, make sure it's alright. Something I don't know if I should be concerned of, but the clearance of the master cylinder. Go there. Try and keep it in focus. It does have clearance, but it's what, 8-10 mil, something like that. So yeah, it's pretty tight in here. But yeah, the engine fits in the bay. That's the main thing. We're 8% of the way there. So I'll chuck a subframe up, I'll chuck a cable on, make sure the shifter's alright, and we'll go from there. Subframe is in, back's not bolted on, but the subframe is bolted up. Fully, with it, flush, there you go. The clearance, go underneath, is there. You got, no, a couple of mil. But it doesn't hit. all that engine movement and it doesn't hit. It's a bit close here, but again, it doesn't hit. So we're all good. What I will do is this is just a piece of webbing for the gearbox. Doesn't really serve a great deal of purpose. I'm not putting silly power through the gearbox, so I'll lop that off, make a little bit more clearance. That should be golden. Plenty of clearance on that side. This side with everything on. It's tight, but manageable. You can see there, water pumps, 5-10 mil away. Enough space to get a bolt on, shouldn't be a problem. The issues arise here. So that mount is actually touching the cam cover, so we'll shave a little bit off that. Shouldn't affect it at all. And then this is going to be difficult to show you, but there, the mount is in the chassis leg, which is rocking it on there. So again, we'll have to clearance that a little bit. And then the bottom of the mount, just, I can't get my finger in, just there is in the way of the oil cooler hose, you can just see. So we'll have to clearance that. Next problem, the CRZ shifter cables. Oh, we're out of focus. There we go. The CRZ shifter cables do not work. If you put it in neutral, it will go on. So that's all in neutral. However, as you can see, the gear stick is right over. Look at that. So obviously I've put it back to where I want it. Oh, fell over. It's right down there. So if we take that off, we can get a lot more movement. So we might have to look at extending or shortening this, or look at overall alternatives. But it's a job for another day. So yeah, where would we go to? The engine fits, subframe clearance is acceptable. Need to do some tweaking there. Tweak a little bit on the gearbox. Worry about the cables another day. Happy with this, so I'm not going to do any notching on that chassis leg. But yeah, first mock-up complete, and I'm not going to say I'm happy. Hasport have redesigned these mounts, and they've done a garbage job apparently. But what do I know about engine mounts, so they probably do a better job than me. And that's where we're going to leave it for the day. It's bank holiday Monday, it's like 6 PM, and I've had enough. So I'm going to pack it up, I'm going to wrap it all up, chuck all my tools in the garage, and I'm going to shower because I'm a bit loppy. So if you've got to this point in the video, thanks for watching, I hope it's been useful, and I'll catch you on the next one where hopefully we'll give the engine a full refresh and be able to get the engine in a bit more permanent. Catch you on the next one.